that. I'm in two places at once.
This one's the real deal, lady. After all this time, I can practically smell him. Which means Eddie Brock just made my whole company look like jerks.
Not hard to do.
Hey webheads, my name is Hack of the Hackjack Show YouTube channel, and I would like to welcome you to my new series, Spider Blood. For those new to the channel, I cover comic books and comic book related media along with Jack, who covers and plays video games. We run a live show called The Hackjack Show where we chat about current topics in gaming and pop culture, as well as a fun time with our goofy selves.
You're seeing my character, right?
Yeah, but the fact of the matter is, I'm not gonna get a lot of wins, so I might as well take it. Besides, it's gonna take me a while to find you anyways. Oh, good lord! You can check out all of our episodes in the Hackjack Show playlist. Welcome to Spider Blood Episode 2, where we are officially underway and diving into one of the best superhero animated series to date. Our inaugural episode was only a taste of things to come, as Episode 2 of the series sets the grand stage for Season 1 and beyond. It's here where the show starts to go its own path of retelling the story of Spider-Man. Without further ado, because we have a lot to cover, let's begin our summary of Episode 2, The Spider Slayer. Our story begins with Spider-Man facing off against robotic adversaries called Spider Slayers. These dangerous machines are purposefully created to capture Spider-Man, designed by roboticist Spencer Smythe along with his son Alistair, and funded by Norman Osborn, CEO of Oscorp Industries. Norman, under the threat of losing his company, has commissioned Smythe to create these machines to get rid of Spider-Man once and for all. Smythe only agrees so that he can have the money to create a floating vehicle for his paraplegic son. It all takes place at the night of Jameson's charity ball, where Peter, along with his classmates Felicia Hardy, Flash Thompson, and Harry Osborn are also in attendance. During the party, Flash attempts to prank Peter due to his jealousy of him dancing with Felicia by pretending to be Spider-Man. Unfortunately, a hidden Spider Slayer spots him in costume, leading to a sudden fight between Peter and the giant Spider Slayer called the Black Widow. The Black Widow destroys the ballroom, leaving both Spidey and Flash underneath the rubble. The robot mistakenly kidnaps Flash, returning him to Smythe's lab. Spider-Man now has to go and rescue him. During his confrontation with the Black Widow, Spidey accidentally sets the lab ablaze. With everyone racing to get out, Norman stops Spencer, commanding him to finish his job capturing Spider-Man. By the end, Spider-Man defeats the Black Widow and rescues Flash, but Spencer Smythe couldn't make it out and his lab explodes. Our story ends with a grieving Alistair, alone until a large and wealthy man comes to him with an offer he can't refuse. As I mentioned in the beginning, the show really begins with this episode. Night of the Lizard acts like a prologue with a purpose to introduce key characters and settings of the show. The Spider Slayer will be the proper first chapter. There's many key plot points and character moments that I couldn't insert gracefully into the summary. These include the beginning of Eddie Brock's villain arc, establishing Peter's love life, and setting up big villains such as the Kingpin and Norman Osborn. We also have a hint of Mary Jane in a first appearance of Flash Thompson and Harry Osborn. Going on to more technical or obscure observations, there's definitely an improvement of the usage of the 3D environment, but there is one instance where the two animation styles clash awkwardly. At exactly 14 minutes and 20 seconds of the episode, you see Spider-Man swinging again in the 3D space. Unfortunately, the end of that scene has a key frame of Spider-Man in a starting to swing pose. But instead of letting the animation of him swinging play out, you see Spidey statically move across the Z-axis of the environment, and it honestly made me laugh. It looked like the animators were dragging Spidey's model from the foreground to the background, and without a proper swinging animation, he just moved in the air absolutely still. We also have our very first continuity error and blatant reuse of animations, and all within one scene. During the fight at the party, the Black Widow, after entering from the roof, starts to come after Felicia, which is bizarre since the robot is remote controlled, meaning Spencer Smythe intentionally went after her for some reason. Once Spider-Man arrives, an animation plays of the Black Widow turning to its left, or stage right for you theater geeks. After turning, Spider-Man jumps over the robot and is behind it. Logically speaking, the robot is positioned towards the roof with Peter behind it, and Felicia on its left-hand side. Thus, for the robot to face Spider-Man, it either can keep turning left, making a full 270-degree turn, or turn to its right, where Felicia is making a 180-degree turn. Instead, they reused the same turn left animation when it was facing Felicia, and she is even still in the shot. So the Black Widow was able to turn towards Spider-Man by moving the exact opposite direction he is actually in. Moving on, I want to lastly mention some more smaller bits that I noticed, such as Jonah crossing his fingers behind his back after calling Peter his best photographer, the way Felicia is standing with one heel raised when she sees Peter, a nice detail showing her attraction to him, how the guards dropped their guns even though their legs were webbed, Flash somehow getting higher ground instead of leaving the lab, and finally in this episode we get to see Spider-Man actually hit someone. Twice even. This episode is an amalgamation of two Spider-Man comics, Amazing Spider-Man numbers 5 and 25. Unlike episode 1, this isn't a straightforward adaptation as both original comics have completely different stories. Amazing Spider-Man number 5 has Spidey facing off against Dr. Doom with the only similarity of Flash Thompson's prank backfiring on him and ending up being kidnapped as the wrong Spider-Man. Issue 25 introduces the infamous Spider Slayer and its creator Spencer Smythe, which oddly, the comic never gives him a proper first name till years later, and it's J. Jonah Jameson trying to catch a Spider-Man, not Norman Osborn. The Slayer itself is completely different, as in the comic it was a humanoid remote-controlled robot, while the show changes it to these drone-looking machines and a giant mechanical spider. On smaller comparisons, they did keep it comic accurate about Harry and Peter did not start out as friends, since in the beginning Harry had closer ties towards Flash, and Felicia Hardy is the first proper love interest introduced in the show when she did not appear in the comics till after Mary Jane. Another change that was done for the show was Alistair. The show has him as a handsome scientist who is handicapped, while the comics debuted him as an overweight slob with bald and curly hair and bad hygiene, though both end up seeking revenge on Spider-Man for, in his mind, destroying his father and legacy. I suspect, as we continue with the series, the show would definitely depart from the source material in very drastic ways, which is not a bad thing, but as time passed and many countless adaptation debates I've listened to have taught, change too much and you find yourself with something unrecognizable. Despite a few errors in the animation and oddities in the story, I very much enjoy this episode. I commend the writers for setting up a good number of side characters, villains, and plotlines all naturally within the runtime of 20 minutes. It never felt that the episode was crowded with too much going on, as the writers were clever in keeping focus on the main conflict and giving the viewer the right amount of intrigue and mystery to keep watching the show. As well, these past two episodes have shown that the main antagonists are not stereotypical villains wanting only destruction or power. Spencer Smythe created the machines all to help his son, as he feels guilty for putting him in his wheelchair. He has no contempt for Spider-Man, and with kids being the target audience for the show, it helps them understand that not every villain wants to be evil, and sometimes they are forced to. Lastly, this episode introduces Kingpin, and holy crap does he put a smile on my face. As a kid, he was always the villain that I hated for how he always got away. But also, that's when I knew things were about to get serious. His iconic voice is one of the key aspects of the show I remembered fondly to this day. Played by the late Roscoe Lee Brown, his performance as Kingpin is one of the best renditions of the character. Until the Daredevil show, I consider him to be the best portrayal of Wilson Fisk. Menacing, full of gravitas, and a balance of sophistication and malice, Brown's performance is entertaining to see and unnerving to hear. As we come to a close, I thank you very much for watching all of Spider-Blood Episode 2. Don't forget to watch our other content on the Hack Jack Show channel, such as our main livestream show, my comic reviews, and Jack's streams and playthroughs. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at Dandy_Spike and give this video a like, a comment, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to ring the bell. Episode 3 coming soon. This is Hack, signing off.